servants and cooks. But up until today, they have not become attached to devotional service. So I am no more interested about those affairs. When you come here, then I will go to Calcutta. If I see that they are interested about devotional service, then only will I maintain my establishment there. Otherwise, I will not maintain them anymore. Bring a quilt for me. That's where we left. Yours truly, Abhay. The two interests, family and preaching, were conflicting. Radharani had never shown any interest in back to Godhead. She seemed to work against his enthusiasm, both for publishing and for earning. The business was called Abhaycharan Day and Sons, and yet the sons were disinclined to help. And when he had called for his servant to join him in Lucknow, the family had objected, saying they needed Gauranga more there. What was the use? The family was interested neither in backing him in his business nor in taking up the life of devotional service. And since his business was primarily an outcome of his family life, he resented that he had to give it so much of his energy. It was the old economic law by Marshall that he had learned in college. Without family affections, a man's economic impetus is weakened. Of course, there could be a compatible balance between family service and devotional service. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has described two simultaneous obligations, bodily and spiritual. Social status, mental development, cleanliness, nourishment, and the struggle for existence were all bodily obligations. The activities of devotional service to Krishna were spiritual, and the two should parallel one another. In Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life, his family was a source of spiritual encouragement, and he used his social position to advance his preaching. But Abhay's experience had been different. The two paths seemed to be at war, each threatening the other's existence. He felt himself operating somewhat like the materialistic he had criticized in his writing, absorbed in the struggle for existence with insufficient time for self-realization. Although his family made more and more demands of him, he was feeling less inclined to work for them and more inclined to preach Krishna consciousness. It was a predicament. He could only push on diligently, support his family, expand his business, and hope for a great success so that he could revive his publishing. But the Lucknow factory seems almost beyond his means. He had purposely begun on a large scale with the aim of making a larger profit. But monthly expenses were high. He had fallen behind in his rent, and now he was involved in a court case with the landlord. Although he was visiting Calcutta regularly and shipping raw materials from Calcutta to Lucknow daily, he always found his family members in Calcutta incooperative. His servant Gauranga was also reluctant to work as Abhay required and was thinking of going back to live with his family. Abhay again wrote to Gauranga on the 23rd, offering my humble obeisances at the feet of the Vaishnava. Gauranga Prabhu, I have received your postcard dated 18/11/45 and got all the informations. There is no need to come here just for a month after spending the money and then go back. For the present, take 25 rupees from Dubra and go home. Write a letter to me after your arrival. Then I will send the rest of your money in one or two installments by money order. Then from there, you let me know when can you come here. I have started my work here in fairly big scale. You have seen that with your own eyes. So if there is no income, who will spend for a court interrogation? Everything is on my head. The brother and sons are just eating and sleeping like a bunch of females and breaking the axe on my head. You go home as soon as you get the money and try to come back as soon as possible. Yours, Sri Abhay Charande. Hare Krishna. Chapter 6. An unknown friend. Let the sharp moralist accuse me of being illusion. I do not mind. Experts in Vedic activities may slander me as being misled. Friends and relatives may call me frustrated. My brothers may call me a fool. The wealthy Maimonides may point me out as mad, and the learned philosophers may assert that I am much too proud. Still, my mind does not budge an inch from the determination to show the lotus feet of Govinda, though I am unable to do it. This is the quote by Madhavendra Puri, the Guru Maharaj of Ishwarpuri. Aside from his difficulties with business and family, Abhay had to survive the cataclysms of Indian independence and partition. He was not active politically, but was one of hundreds of millions affected by the violent dawn of Indian independence. While Gandhi and the Hindu-dominated Congress were demanding a united free India, the Muslim League, led by M.A. Jinnah, called for partition and their own Muslim nation, Pakistan. The conflict raged. In August 1946, the outgoing British government invited Jawaharlal Nehru, Congress Party president, to form an interim national government. But the League objected. The Muslim cause would be denied. Jinnah had already declared August 16 Direct Action Day, which amounted to little in most part of India, but in Calcutta erupted in Hindu-Muslim rioting. In 5 days of violence, 4,000 died and thousands more were wounded. In the month that followed, Hindu-Muslim rioting repeatedly flared up throughout India. Early in 1947, when the new Viceroy, Lord Mountbatten, met with Indian political leaders to plan transfer of power, riots again broke out as Muslims demanded Pakistan. At the threat of civil war, Congress finally agreed on partition, and on July 18th, the Indian Independence Bill passed without dissent. 1 month later, India and Pakistan emerged as independent nations, with Jawaharlal Nehru as India's first Prime Minister. Partition tore India, leaving 5 million Sikhs and Hindus in Pakistan and as many Muslims in India. And the Great Migration began. Refugees fleeing from Pakistan to India and from India to Pakistan clashed with each other and even with their own countrymen of the opposing faith. And the violence that erupted claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. Srila Prabhupada is explaining in his own words as follows. Our independence movement was started by Mahatma Gandhi ji for uniting all the different sections of the people. But actually, the result was that instead of being united, India was partition. And the partition became so poisonous that formerly there was only sporadic Hindu-Muslim riot in some places. But now there was organized fighting between Pakistan and Hindustan. So actually, we were not being united, we were being separated. The Hindus would go to the mosque of the Muslim and break it, and the Muslim would go to the temples of Hindus and break the idol. And they will think, quote, we have finished the Hindus, God, unquote. Just like the Hindus also think, quote, oh, we have broken their God, unquote. They are all ignorant. God cannot be Hindu. God cannot be Muslim. God cannot be Christian. God is God. So we have seen in 1947 Hindu-Muslim fighting. One party was Hindu, the other party was Muslim. They fought, and so many died. And after that, there was no distinction who was Hindu or who was Muslim. The municipal men gathered them together in a pulse to throw them somewhere. They fought, and in Bagh Bazaar, there were heaps of dead bodies. And when it is a dead body, nobody could understand who was Hindu and who was Muslim. Simply, it was to be clear from the road. Abhay was not expecting Indian independence to bring any real solutions, unless the leaders were God conscious. What change would be there be? Now he saw that instead of suffering at the hand of a foreign rule, the people were free to suffer under their own countrymen. In fact, the fighting and suffering had increased. Throughout the years of India's political struggles, Abhay had never lost his desire to propagate Krishna consciousness. He had seen how promises of unity and independence has brought mostly higher prices and civic mismanagement. He had seen neighborhoods where Indians has lived peacefully for generations, erupt in hatred and rioting. In the wake of a British and an Indian diplomatic manipulations, it was as Srila Bhakti Saraswati had described it. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted as the leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects. They cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men guided by another blind man miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men led by another materially attached man are bound by the ropes of fruitive labor, which are made of very strong cords, and they continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. The Vaishnavas prays to his spiritual master, quote, who has opened my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge, unquote. And he feels obliged to help humanity by bearing the same torch as the representative of the eternal Vaishnava Parampara. Abhay wanted to set the life of transcendental knowledge onto the field of current crisis. That had been the purpose of Back to Godhead. Although since 1944 he had been unable to print the magazine. But even without the means to publish, Abhay continued writing. His most ambitious project was Gita-Upanishad, his translation and commentary of Bhagavad Gita. Gandhi and others often spoke of the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. Indians never forgot their Gita, but most proponents did not teach it as Krishna had taught it. They would not recognize Lord Krishna, the speaker of their Gita, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but would extract his words as slogans to bolster their own philosophies. Whether political leaders, religious leaders, or scholars, they almost invariably made their own symbolic and allegorical interpretations. Abhay wanted to present Bhagavad Gita as is. It was to be 1200 pages, 3 illustrated, beautifully bound volumes. For Abhay, the books were already a reality, from which he was separated only by time. Over the past 2 years, he had accumulated hundreds of manuscript pages. He wrote in notebooks and on loose papers, and then typed the numbered manuscript pages. He could never give the book his full time, but gradually it began to take shape. He also preached Lord Chaitanya's message through letters, writing to many leaders in the government, to respectable acquaintances, and to people whose article he had read or whose activities has caught his eye in the newspaper. Presenting himself as a humble servant, he wrote to them of his ideas on how India's original Krishna conscious culture could be applied as the successful solutions to all manners of dilemmas. Sometimes his letters drew replies, and Abhay would respond, fanning the spark of interest wherever he found them. A well-known reformer, Mahendra Pratap Raja, was forming what he called the World Federation. Abhay had read a news set which Mr. Pratap had published from Vrindavan, in which he addressed all nations and peoples of the world and called for a unity of mankind. Abhay wrote to him suggesting that Lord Krishna's teaching in Bhagavad Gita provided a theistic science capable of uniting all religions. Mr. Pratap replied in May 1947 as follows, quote, I admire your deep study of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I myself am a great admirer of the great classic. I assure you that I am working strictly according to the book, unquote. Mr. Pratap mentioned his book, Religion of Love, and suggested that Abhay read it if he wanted to know the World Federation's view of religion. In the meanwhile, Mr. Pratap wrote, quote, I do not agree to your suggestion of making the name of Krishna or Govinda as the basis of the unity of religions. This would amount to conversion and won't lead to unity of religions. I highly appreciate your effort in the direction of back to Godhead. Abhay got the book, read it, and in July 1947, while he was visiting Kanpur, wrote a reply. He had traveled to Kanpur not as a spiritual teacher, but as a pharmaceutical salesman. Yet, a typewriter had been available, and out had come his preaching. In continuation of my last postcard, I beg to inform you that I have finished the reading of your book, Religion of Love. In my opinion, the whole thesis is based on the philosophy of pantheism, and the approach is made by the service of mankind. Religion of love is the true religious idea. But if the approach is made through the service of mankind only, then the process is made imperfect, partial, and unscientific. The true religion of love is perfectly inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita. Besides, you have not quoted any authority for all your statements, so it is more or less dogmatic. If different men put different dogmatic view about religion and its essential, who is to be accepted and who is not to be? Therefore, the approach shall be and must be authoritative, scientific, and universal. Abhay then gave a summary of the Bhagavad Gita in 10 points, concluding, quote, the highest service that can be rendered to mankind is therefore to preach the philosophy and religion of Bhagavad Gita for all time, all places, and all the people. But extended philosophical dialogue was not usually the result of his letters. In 1947, when Abhay wrote to high government officers of the newly formed government of India, suggesting a remedy for riots, they turned him away. When he asked to talk with the governor of West Bengal. The governor secretary replied, quote, His Excellency regrets that he is unable to grant you an interview at present, owing to heavy pressure of work, unquote. When he wrote to the Assistant Secretary to the Minister of Education, an assistant to the Assistant Secretary replied, quote, The Government of India regret that they are unable to accede to your request, unquote. Sometimes official interest took the form of a patronizing pat on the head. Quote, I'm sure your scheme for establishing peace will meet with response from our Prime Minister, unquote. And another, quote, He, the Minister of Education, is glad to see you are taking to rout out communism. He suggests that you get in touch with. A local official asks not to be seen. I thank you for all that you have written and the fine sentiments which you have expressed. It is no use arguing the matter, as I do not think that I can serve any useful purpose by joining the organization which you wish to set up. And therefore, you need not take the trouble of seeing me. I wish you, however, all success. Hari Bol. We can see how much Prabhupada went through. In October, after the Calcutta riots in 1947, Abhay wrote to the chairman of the Rehabilitations Committee, who replied to Prabhupada as follows. Regarding Hari Kirtan and Prasadam, you may make any program of your own, but I'm afraid I'm not interested in the same, nor my committee, and therefore there is no necessity of your meeting with me. Abhay was fulfilling his role as a Vaishnava preacher, and the secretaries of the various government offices were recognizing and addressing him as such. But they could not appreciate his application of the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and his suggestions for the Hari Kirtan. Occasionally, however, someone seemed interested. Mr. N.P. Asthana, High Court advocate, replied to Prabhupada as follows. I'm very much obliged to you for your letter. Your broad scheme about spiritual improvement. I thoroughly appreciate the fine feelings which have prompted you to write this letter and the kindness with which you have considered my query. I have been a student of Bhagavad Gita and have also imbibed some of its teaching. But I still lack a good deal and will be glad to be guided by a person of your accomplishment. You may kindly, therefore, send your scheme to me, on receipt of which I'll be able to express my views. It was inevitable that Abhay would think of engaging Mahatma Gandhi in devotional service because of his lifetime of courageous, ascetic, and moral activities on behalf of his countrymen. Mahatma Gandhi had great power to influence the Indian masses. As with Mahendra Pratap of the World Federation, Mahatma Gandhi's idea of serving God was to try to bring happiness to man through politics and through his own invented methods. As one Englishman had said of Mahatma Gandhi, quote, he is either a saint amongst the politicians or a politician among the saints. unquote. But be that as it may, he was not as yet fully engaged in pure devotional service. And his activities were not those of a Mahatma as described in Bhagavad Gita. The Gita defines a Mahatma as one who fully engages in worshipping Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, always chanting his glories. The Mahatma encourages others to surrender to Krishna. But because as a young man Abhay had been follower of Gandhi's, Abhay had a special feeling for him. Of course, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had later convinced him to engage exclusively in devotional service. But now Abhay felt his old friendship for Gandhi, even though Gandhi was a towering figure of worldwide fame and Abhay unknown both to Gandhi and to the world. I think the time has come that we need to stop. The devotees have to go to perform their daily activities. So before they leave, we would like to offer our humble obeisances at the desk of their feet. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhayavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. The activities that we are doing from 2 o'clock is very sublime. Very, very few people get a chance, and that also not because they want to do it, but because Krishna showered their mercy upon those devotees. Then and then we can take up this process. Otherwise, it's impossible. The world is running against the waves of devotion. Only few are struggling to swim against the waves of materialism. Heroes we call. And these heroes are totally incapable of doing anything themselves. But I think we should feel so grateful to Krishna that somehow or other he is waking up early to chant his holy name and engage in the activities that can purify our existence. And there is no more suffering, no more distress. We can live our life very joyfully, healthy life. No disease in our body, no anxiety to live in this material world. All this arrangement will be sufficiently provided by mercy of Krishna. As I was saying yesterday, that I was talking to His Holiness Keshavarti Maharaj. He lives in London. We were few thousand miles away, but we are very close by our heart. So as soon as I give Maharaj a call, he right away picked up and he said, "Here is my dear Shyam Sundar. What good news you have to share with me." That's his first sentence. I said, "Maharaj, I really missing you because we have very profound relationship, very open. I have with many sannyasis in a different way, unique way with each of them." And then Maharaj started asking me what are the activities and like this, and then I mentioned about morning program and my day activities, gardening, and Maharaj was fully supportive. "Shyamji," he always says, "Shyamji, go ahead with your chanting. This is the only thing that we need to do in our life." And then Maharaj told me that I have been reading Srimad Bhagavatam with Vaishashike Prabhu from, California. 5 hours a day, both of them were reading. And now Keshavardi Maharaj told me that I have reduced it and I have increased my chanting. Maharaj is chanting 64 rounds every day, 80 rounds on Ekadasi. And Maharaj says, Shyamji, are you ready to listen? And I was really forgot to record it, but he said, starting with this, there is no greater vow than to chant the holy name. There is no other pious activity better than the holy name. There is no more knowledge better than the holy name. There is no other good activities than the holy name. Everything circle around the holy name. So please do yourself engage in the holy name as you are doing more and more. That was his blessings. And then finally he said, Shyamji, we have 5 prominent activities that we should practice. One is to reside in a dham. Second, to have the association of the devotees, chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, deity worship, and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. But he said that when we will be ready to leave this world, maybe if you are fixed in your devotion, you may mentally worship Krishna. If you have spent and read many literature, you can glance it over. You may get to leave your body in a dham or not, we don't know. We don't know, we may have the association of devotees when we leave this world. Who knows? But one thing is for certain, Maharaj says, that the holy name, you carved that holy name into inner core of your heart. And you meditate on the form of the holy name when you go to the sleep every day. And remember, when you close your eyes, you say, that holy name, no matter up to the last breath, we can read it in the mind and stay focused and perfect our life. So these activities is so wonderful. We should feel so grateful to whoever has helped us to come close to the holy name, because this is a real diamond. What we are seeking everywhere, everything is included in the diamond. We don't have to separately look for something. Everything is included. If you read the Namastaka, let me see that today. I think I'm really into it, so rather than chanting, let's go a little bit about the Kepala Astakam. Holy name, Madhuram Madhurabhyo api, Mangalebhyo api Mangalam, Pavanam Pavanebhyo api, Hare Nam Eva Kevalam. Sweeter than the sweetest, more auspicious than all other auspicious things, purified of all the purifying objects. That is the holy name of Hari alone is everything. Then Abrahma Stamba Paryantam Sarvam Maya Mayam Jagat Satyam Satyam Punah Satyam Hare Nam Eva Kevalam. The entire universe, from Lord Brahma down to the lonely clump of grass, is made of Maya. The only reality, is the holy name of Hari. Alone is everything. Sa Guru Shapita Chapi, Sha Mata Bandharo Apisaha, Shiksayet Chet Sadash, Shmatun Ni, Shmartum Hare Nam Eva Kevalam. That person is a true Guru, a true father, a true mother, and a true relative only if they teach one to always remember the holy name of Hari. Alone is everything. Niswase nahi viswasah kada ruddho bhavishyati kirtiniyam ato balyat Hare Nam eva kevalam. One cannot trust one's own breathing. At any moment, it may stop. Therefore, it is recommended to sing from the very childhood the holy name of Hari. Alone is everything. Hari sada vaset tatra yatra bhagavata janaha gayanti bhakti bhavena Hare Nam eva kevalam. Lord Hari eternally dwells in that place where his devotees sing in the mood of pure devotion. The holy name of Hari alone is everything. Oho dukkham mahadukkham dukkhad dukhatanam yata kachartam vishrantam ratnam Hare Nam eva kevalam. Oh, what a sorrow, a great sorrow. The greatest sorrow of all is that for the obtaining a few pieces of glass, I forgot the jewel, which was the holy name of Hari. Alone is everything. Diyatham, diyatham karno, niyatham, niyatham vachaha, giyatam, giyatam nityam, Hare Nam eva kevalam. Its sound should be given repeatedly to one's ear. It should be uttered repeatedly with one's voice. One should perpetually sing and sing anew the holy name of Hari. Alone is everything. Truni krutya jagat sarvam rajate shakalopari chit chinnanda mayam suddham Hare Nam eva kevalam. Turning the entire material world into an insignificant speck of grass. It reigned supremely over all, full of eternally conscious joy, is the supremely pure holy name of Hari. Alone is everything. So we should always remember this Kevalastakam that our Acharya has given. Actually, Nilkant Goswami, he wrote many verses. He was really a scholarly, devoted person. That he wrote 100 verses to glorify Mother Earth. He wrote 100 verses to glorify our Mother. He wrote 100 verses to glorify the holy name. So this Kevalastakam is selected from these 100 verses. Actually, I was looking and I found that which one is these 8 verses. Number 36 is number 1, like that. Our scriptures are so much in depth that it can give all the information that we are seeking. Where is that type of institution where you can have the answers to everything authentically? Not many. So I think let's chant the holy name for another hour or so. We are fortunate that Krishna has given us the time. We should look for more and more time to engage our senses in chanting the holy name. Then we will see all the problems of life will go away. And when I went to the Chardham Yatra, my realization I saw that in the mountains, small ant, birds, beasts, animals, everything live peacefully. They don't collect more than necessary. Why? Because they follow the nature and they have complete faith in the system that the Creator will protect us. Birds wonderfully fly all day long, enjoying the nature. They never collect more than necessary. Have you seen any animals that they collect anything for next day? No. Are they surviving? Yes. Before that, now that because we have contaminated some of the animals like cats and dogs we keep in our house, so they became contaminated. So now we need to have the veteran hospitals. Before that, do you think that any 8.4 million pieces of life minus one human being, they don't need any